Come on.
I don't hear nothing.
Come on. Ladies and gentlemen, there's no better way to get up in the morning than to get up with Garret. Garret is a third-generation success credentialed real estate entrepreneur who's here to give you tips, tricks, and share stories of success. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Garret Bedron.
Juggy,
How are you?
how do you say so much every time? That's a big intro.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot to memorize.
That's the truth.
Wow, what a resume! I can't wait to meet that guy. Okay, his headphones. That guy's headphones keep going in and out on him.
They're going in and out. I
I need my headphone wire.
You new
update.
headphones.
All right, new headphones. Anyway, good morning and happy May 19th. Guess what? It's my older sister's birthday. So big shout out to Jamie Bedron. Hopefully you're watching. She's busy running around with her family and her obligations, but wanted to wish you a happy birthday. Tell you I love you. I'm thinking about you. And it's exciting. You know, we had a little bit of rain, cool off last night. My girl Juliet was up at bat, did some softball. And I keep telling her, just swing the bat, right? Because in business, we talk a lot about, especially on this show, if you don't go for it, you definitely will fail, right? So
absolutely,
if you don't take risks, I know you will fail. If you do take risks in business and in life, you actually may accomplish your goals. Now, it may take longer for others, right? For some, but we've been coaching Juliet, just swing the bat a little bit more. And of course, she did swing it more now and finally listening. And she got a couple foul tips and she even hit it and ran to first. Didn't get on base, got out, but it was close. But the point was that she went for it and wasn't afraid to go for it instead of just striking out, standing, watching the pitches.
Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Absolutely.
So you're going to miss 100% of the swings. You don't swing.
Absolutely. So I thought that was a good analogy. You know, Michael Jordan has missed a lot of shots, right, over the years. And I think it's a good analogy to life and to business. You got to go for it. So I wanted to give you a couple little updates, right? We always talk what's cooking, what's going on. As you know, we're involved in a great business called Salons by JC. And our guest today is actually a new franchisee from the business. So we're going to talk and hear his story in a couple minutes. But we are celebrating 5 years of one of our North Carolina locations open. I don't know if you have those photos that I sent to you earlier, but we have a location in High Point, North Carolina, and it's at the Oak Hollow Shopping Center, which is a Bedron family property. And here we go. The girls went out, the ladies went out and had a little dinner, a little celebration locally to celebrate 5 years in business, which is great to see. And then do you have by chance the other photo as well? Okay, cool. So the other photo is neat because it actually shows you some of the OGs, right? These women have been here the whole time.
Nice.
5 years with us from day one.
Wow.
So it's we're so thankful and grateful for their, what I say, transfer of trust and becoming part of our family and believing in us, and a great opportunity for them to have their business. So Shane, our manager, we want to thank you for the great work you've done as well, running this business in North Carolina. Not so easy to run a business out of state, Dougie.
True.
Not so easy.
True.
I'll tell you. So you have to have a good team.
Yeah, especially if you want to be, involved a lot and hands-on, whatever. You got to have a good team to make sure they're holding down the fort.
Yeah. And sometimes these people will try to sell you what's called an absentee business. And we'll talk a little bit more with our guest, Chris Wilson later. I always say, if you have an absentee business, you're going to have an absentee checkbook. So, that's just important advice. And then the other update, if you want to bring up some of the photos, I don't have any video today to share of hedges. I think we're in the middle of the month cycle, but probably next show we'll have some more drones. But I did get some great photos from the self-storage building. So part of the hedges, obviously everyone knows we're building 118 luxury apartments. We're building Planet Fitness and retail. And the third building is a climate-controlled indoor self-storage facility. So a lot of times you think about kind of driving on the highway, you see these dingy, kind of long self-storage buildings. And remember, we had my friend Adam Pagoda on the show a few months ago. But the newest kind of thing is the indoor climate control. It's a nicer building. There's going to be carpet. There's lighting. There's an office. There's electric locks with your Bluetooth on your phone. And so I wanted to show kind of how this rolls out a little bit, so you can kind of see that's one of the units being built there in the middle. There may be one or two other shots, but basically this metal kind of corrugated a bundle of metal gets rolled out, and that's how they set up the dividers, and then you build these like 5x5s, these 5x10s. So we've come a long way. I mean, this is a huge part to get to this. This part of the progress in the construction phase, and now bringing in. And there's only a couple companies that do this.
Mhm.
One of them is called Janus.
Mhm.
You can Google them. I think Janus International, huge company, and they provide the actual corrugated metal to build these units. So we're excited about that, and stay in touch. And you're always welcome to visit us on our website, hedges@hawthorne.com, if you have any questions and information. Now, Dougie, before we bring on our guest, you and I talk a lot about sneakers, right? And I know you've had kind of some trials and tribulations trying to get the hottest new drops and following those apps that the kids are following. And you've had a lot of bad luck, but tell me a story. Have you come into some good luck recently?
Some great luck. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So there's an app, gives me notification. He's about to go on sale. I always click the ones I like. I always click like grab them. I always, some of them are hot, and you can't get them. So here, we'll grab this one. So the Jordan Air 6s dropped on my phone. Got a notification, and then like, do you want them? And it wasn't that I didn't want them, but I was like, all right, I'm not expecting to win, so I'll click it, even though I wasn't expecting to win. So these we got.
Wow.
These are the 6s.
Okay, like those.
Yeah. But then yesterday I'm at like the outlet, and I can't even explain to you.
It's like a Nike outlet.
Yeah, it was a Nike outlet. So I can't explain to you why, the reason for this, but someone in the world messed up, and a bunch of these, and they came in this high quality, crazy box right here.
Wow.
So right here, spoiler alert, this is the charging pad for these sneakers. Okay. So they had an abundance of these. These are going on for StockX for like $350.
Really?
Right? Yeah. I got them for $70. They come out of this. They're electric sneakers.
Oh my God.
They're like inspired by Back to the Future.
Oh, I love
Back
that
to the
movie.
Future is my favorite. Yeah, my favorite movie. They tighten up. They release.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Let me see this.
Yeah.
Wow. So you went to the Nike outlet. So StockX is an app that you can buy aftermarket sneakers on, basically from someone that either has bought them and wants to flip them,
and these retail on the Nike app. They're sold out everywhere, but for whatever reason, this Nike outlet had them. They're on the Nike app for $300.
Wow.
So like they retail for $300 for whatever reason. They needed space in the back of the warehouse. Who knows what? And once I grabbed them and I asked the employee, he was like, "No, that's wrong. That's not. That's." He's like, "That can't be." And I'm like, "Dude, you can't change the price on me. Like that's against the law."
That's against the law.
So 5 employees come over. They're all huddling over. They're all looking, and then one guy comes over. He's like, "Yeah. Someone in corporate messed up. We got to get rid of these. We have a bunch in the back." So instantly, everyone at the store bought them. They're all gone. So
they're gone now.
Yeah, they're gone.
I'm not going to go back and get me a couple pairs.
I got as many as I could. I got 2 pairs. Yeah, man.
Hello. Okay, Steve Jobs. Hi, it's the Apple sneaker. Wow, Dougie, you're blowing me away with this.
And like, I want a pair to like keep in the box because I'm kind of like that. Like, I probably won't wear these. I'll just keep them nice.
Yeah.
And I want a pair to wear, and hopefully I can, flip one.
Wow, that's pretty hot, man. That's cool. Dougie's gonna work on his side hustle today. I come in, Dougie's flipping sneakers. He's flipping Pokemon cards. I don't know nothing about Pokemon.
Yeah, it's that too. They're always sold out at Target. So I was getting like, some paper towels and water. I'm checking out, and there was a fresh stock. So I grabbed a couple packs, and in one of the packs is a Charizard, which is the best, the only one I know. It's the big dragon, Fire Green Dragon. It's the only one I know, and it's apparently the best, like whatever. And now
that's
I got
awesome.
Yeah. So
see, well, look, what's the moral of the story? You never know. You got to be in the game to get it, right?
Yeah, you got to be in it to win it.
Exactly. You got to be in it to win it.
So when you came in this morning,
you were in a great.
Yeah, I'm in the other room. Basically, it looked like you just walked in my hotel room in Vegas. I got all the sneakers.
I know. It looks like a card show or a sneaker con or something we're at. Wow, that's crazy.
So,
that's crazy.
Fun times here at Undefeated Media.
All right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our audience to our guest today. We are very fortunate to have a great friend of the show with us. His name is Chris Wilson from Legacy Franchise Consulting. And I met Chris in Texas a few weeks ago at the Salons by JC annual conference, and we hit it off right away. Just had great vibes and talking business and cars and sneakers and fun stuff. And I said, Chris, I'd love to have you share your story on the show, because Chris helps other people buy franchises, and he's owned franchises. He owns part of Salons by JC franchise now. So let's see if Chris is available in the green room. I know he's checking out those M&Ms and caviar. Are you there this morning, Chris?
Yeah, you caught me. I almost had my mouth full with some M&Ms here.
I'm glad the care package came on time. So live from Orlando, say hi to our audience. It's great to see you this morning. I appreciate you joining the Get Up with Garret show.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
All right. So Chris, your background is interesting. We were talking a little bit over that last few weeks. Tell us how you got involved in franchise consulting, because I think your background was in IT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so talk a little bit about the transition. How did you go kind of from the IT, 40-hour a week kind of, typical job to kind of having some side hustles? I want to dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so 40 hours a week, you're being kind. It was more like 60 to 80 at times, but eventually what happened, I was in the tech world and having a good time at it, but got tapped on the shoulder one day when I went into work, and the company I was working for was going to go over some outsourcing. And as HR put it, my position had been affected, right? So didn't like the way that felt. You go from having a steady paycheck to basically saying, hey, listen, at the end of the month, you're on the road. So I decided that I wanted to have an additional stream of income. Had a very good friend and mentor. We'll call him Boynton Weeks. He's a good friend of mine.
All right.
He was in the franchising space, and I remember I called him up on a Sunday. He was probably watching football, took my call anyway. And I said, I want to own a franchise. I don't have $1 million. What can you do for me? And he said, well, first of all, I'll call you tomorrow when the game's not on.
I'm watching football. I like
That's right.
That's about right. Don't call me during the Giants game either, please, Chris.
That's right. So, but ultimately we had a conversation, just kind of went over what I was looking for and why. And he started, doing his process of going through how we figured that out. And then we ultimately landed on a franchise that I was, quote unquote, crazy enough to invest in. And it was a really great opportunity.
And what was that? Which franchise was that?
Sure. So it was a Club Pilates franchise. I had recently moved to Orlando, so invested in one territory down here in the Orlando metro area. Great brand. They were growing at the time and still are. It just felt right. What was interesting was I didn't go into it saying I want to own a Pilates studio. Right. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But when you looked at all of the boxes that need to be checked, it just checked a lot of those boxes. So
gotcha. Did you grow up? I mean, were you always kind of into health and wellness and fitness, and was that kind of a natural fit for you? Even if you didn't take Pilates, you certainly spoke that language a little bit.
So love sports, was always not necessarily like a gym rat, but would work out occasionally, somewhat regularly. Did not know much about Pilates at all, though. In fact, when he suggested it, I thought he was joking, because I'm like, why would I want a Pilates studio, right? And got some really good advice from him, like, let's worry about the business model, let's worry about what could happen here, and not so much about the product or service. And so once I was able to wrap my head around that, it just opened up a whole new world for me.
Gotcha. Are you from Orlando, Chris, or was that somewhere you moved?
Yeah, so from New York originally, grew up in New Jersey, and then moved to Orlando about 6 years ago.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So it's obviously Orlando has been this tremendously bustling market. I mean, I remember Orlando expanding in the early 90s when they got the franchise from the NBA. We talked a little about Shaq and what went on, and obviously it was Disney for so long, and kind of that's it in Central Florida. So Orlando's had tremendous growth. Lots of Northerners moving there, of course. I like to visit once in a while, not going to lie, for the kids and go to Disney. So when you went, you purchased one location, right, with Club Pilates? That's how it started?
Correct.
Okay, cool. And so do you still own that location today, or did you open that and sell that, or did you operate for a few years? Tell us about the experience with that.
Yeah, so I operated it for a few years, was doing really well. and then used the proceeds of the first one to open a second location. So I ultimately had two. The second one opened right in the middle of COVID, which was fun
Great
and
timing.
interesting. Great time.
Great
Couldn't
timing.
beat the timing.
Wow.
But then I ended up selling both of those units in December of last year.
Okay, gotcha. So you're out of that. Was Club Pilates, was that rolled up in part of the Exponential Fitness and all those different brands?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And some of those Pure Bar is one of my tenants in actually in that center that we were looking at earlier with the Salons by JC. And of course, we've come across lots of friends from Cycle Bar and other companies throughout.
Right.
I think they probably are up to 10 or 12 brands. Pretty impressive how they rolled that up now.
Yeah, for sure.
They actually had a 2-page ad in like the Airplane magazine. My dad ripped it out and showed it. He says, "Don't you know these folks?" So that's pretty interesting. So okay, so that's you had the franchise experience. You got going with that. Did you like the kind of the idea of making your own schedule, setting your own hours? I mean, obviously, as an entrepreneur, it's all over the place. It could be 100 hours, right? But was that really appealing once you got into the Pilates, or did you feel like, you know what, I kind of prefer more of a typical, regular job type structure?
Yeah. So I went into it looking for semi-absentee ownership, which you
Okay.
kind of touched on in the opening. So I actually, after I got laid off the first time, I went back to corporate America, but at the same time was spinning up this first Pilates franchise. So I did both for a while, which was interesting.
Yep.
Semi-absentee by definition is anywhere from 5 to 20 hours a week. In the beginning, it's much closer to 20 plus. But
Sure.
if you do it right, you can get down to that 5 pretty, I won't say quickly, but pretty efficiently, right? So
Yep.
did both for a while until I got laid off for the third time. And then at that time I said, big baseball fan. So I said, all right, 3 strikes, I'm out. Let's do something else.
third time's a charm, Dougie.
Yeah. Either way is fine.
But look, it's important though. I mean, to be, I think sometimes you have to look, you have to look in the mirror and say, look, maybe this is not for me, right? And being able to do that somewhat earlier in the process when you have some other side income set up, you don't want to go down the wrong road and spend years and years and years on the wrong road, right? So the minute you realize, you know what, this is just not working, it's not for me, or I don't know, the luck with this industry, whatever, there's some titanic shift going on in the world. I got to do something else. The earlier you realize that, be pragmatic about it, be honest with yourself, just move on. Right. You don't want to wake up one day and not have the other opportunities. So, you mentioned that it was kind of crazy balancing opening up the studios while having your other job. But that also gave you the ability to kind of, when that time came and said, hey, I'm out of corporate America, because at least there was something already set up that you could build on. Once you get to 2 locations, you don't wake up and have 10, right? You start with 1 gets you to 2, 2 gets you to 4 gets you to 10. It rolls a little bit, right? I'm sorry. You wanted to add something?
No, I mean, I was going to ask you a question that kind of goes along with this. Basically, so like we deal with marketing and stuff, and like it's a longer game. So there's a lot of times where I have to, the ROI will be a longer time.
It may not be measurable right away.
Yeah. So there's a gray area, and we can touch base on this later, but it's like some things you need to, really buckle down and focus, and some things you got to know right away and get out. That basically was kind of not even, I don't know. That was kind of my question.
I'm still waiting for the question.
So like, I don't want to you guys keep going. But like the question was, what things should you last longer in and spend more time in, and then what kind of things should you just see, evaluate, and get out of?
Well, look, for everyone that's going to be different, but I think the ultimate judge is going to be cash flow, right? So if you're funding a business and it's actually taking money, from your day-to-day paycheck, where you're now, kind of negative and not be able to live your lifestyle, that becomes an issue. If your regular paycheck is funding your lifestyle, and then the above that amount is being put into a new opportunity to create a side hustle, and that new side hustle is not making money yet, that may be okay because you're using your kind of your surplus, your extra money. But if you're actually going into the hole and now you're using money from your real job, that's your bread and butter, and you've had to adjust your lifestyle, and you're down on the money, that may be a problem to pull the plug. But on the flip side, sometimes you invest in something where it doesn't need a lot of money. It just needs some sweat equity and some time. And it may take a few years longer. That may still be okay too.
Yeah.
Because you may have some free Saturdays, Sundays, and you may enjoy that. There's plenty of franchises where you can be involved with service-based things that don't require as big of an investment as a Club Pilates or a Salons by JC. Chris, how did you get into franchise consulting? And I just want to put the story in the right order. After you sold the Club Pilates, did you then look for another franchise to buy? Or did you say, I really enjoy the concept of helping other people? I know you're passionate about helping women and minorities own their own business like I am as well, which is why the Salons by JC brand resonates to both of us, deeply. But just kind of help us there. What was your next step after you rolled up and sold the Club Pilates units?
So I'm a connector by nature. If you tell me you need a plumber, I'm going to give you 3 plumbers that I have good experiences with and have you choose from them, right? So when I had a good experience with my franchise consultant, the next thing I figured out, well, if this is working great for me, how do I get someone else who might be in a similar situation, at least thinking about franchising? So I made it my life mission for a couple of months to find leads for my franchise consultant of people who were thinking about it, just weren't sure. And I knew that he could help educate them on the process. So he came to me and said, hey, listen, the people that you're sending over are fantastic leads. He's like, these are the best lead. You're the best lead source that I have.
You're the cream of the crop, man. You're the top lead generator.
Right. And he said, you could totally do this job. If you wanted to do this instead of your corporate job, you could do it. And I thought that was crazy at the time because I wasn't going to leave a steady paycheck while I'm still building up a business. So I put that on the shelf. And then as luck would have it, about a month and a half later, I got laid off again. And so that was the third and final time. And so I went back to him and said, hey, you remember what you said a couple of weeks ago? Is that true?
Right. But Doug, that answers your question because that didn't cost Chris any money. He was just sharing friends and relationships. He said, I'm a connector, right? Yeah. What does it cost to be a connector? Nothing. It's a smile. It's engaging with people. It's asking some thought-provoking questions. Tell me about your family. Tell me about your friends, like digging a little deeper. That doesn't really cost you anything. Yeah. So if that process only took Chris a few months from when he went back to this person, but had that taken a few years, that's okay. He wasn't really spending money on that.
True.
To kind of answer your question.
Yeah, great.
All right. So Chris, pick up. So he said you could do this, and you said, okay, I guess I can. Let's give it a shot, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's figure it out. So we hopped on a couple calls and we chatted, and I really started doing some research on the industry, and I was like, this is pretty cool. I mean, I had been an IT consultant, so now I'm still consulting just on a different product. So a lot of the things lined up nicely. And then obviously I have experience because I actually went through the process. So I felt that I could resonate with my potential clients. And then, just it was one of those things of to use the baseball analogy, let's just take a swing here and see what happens, right? Let's get out of the batter's box and see what happens.
That's right. Juliet, swing the bat, babe. Just swing the bat. You may get hit. You never know.
That's right. Yeah. And I swung, and then it was, I don't want to paint the picture that it was all rosy, but I mean, 4 months after I swung, COVID happened, right? And I was like, oh, this was the worst idea ever. Who's gonna buy a business now? But ultimately, I won't say COVID was a good thing, but it shifted people's thought process about what it meant to be gainfully employed. And it made people think about some options.
Interesting way to put it, because look, obviously a lot of people suffered, and we don't want to diminish that. But a lot of people probably looked in the mirror and said, wait a minute, is my job really the definition of me? And, what else do I really care about? Now that I've got some time to take a little pullback, I'm home more, I'm looking around at my family, how do I really want to commute an hour and a half to New York City if I live in northern New Jersey? Do I really want to drive into some traffic or some other area of the country and lose 2 to 3 hours a day from my family, from my mental health, from my health and wellness goals? So I think a lot of people had those thoughts, and that fits nicely with franchising, because there may be some opportunities for someone to pick up something where it could be semi-absentee, and it may not be such a big investment. So I totally understand your point there. So then, as part of this kind of new opportunity as a franchise consultant, I'm guessing Salons by JC kind of fell on your desk as here's a a new opportunity that's in the market that you can share to your potential leads?
Yeah, so the interesting thing about franchising, there are like 4,000 different brands out there, right? And
Oh
I
my
won't
God.
pretend. Yeah, it's insane. I won't pretend to know them all, but part of my job is to just do as much research as I can. So I'm always going to franchise conventions, just knocking on doors and reading
Sure.
articles, and I'm immersing myself in the industry. And you hear about some things that just sound really interesting. And the problem for me is, and my wife will tell you, when I like a business, I come home and I'm like, we should do this. And so I have a
I'm
list
ready to
of
buy it. Sounds familiar. I may have that problem too, by the way.
There you go. So luckily, or maybe unluckily, she keeps me grounded. And so
Good.
she makes it so that I don't buy every business that I, fall in love with. But every once in a while, she and I agree on one, and Salons by JC was one for sure.
Okay, so tell us about when you first heard about it. Because when I first heard about it, I was like, I don't know a thing about cutting hair. I don't know anything about owning a hair salon, and I don't think I want to. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. And my franchise consultant, who we had on a few months ago, George Knopf, said to me, no, Garrett, don't you understand? You have a hair salon, a nail salon as a tenant in every shopping center. This is no different. You're going to still have, these professionals in your shopping center. You're just going to have maybe 20 under one roof instead of one or two in the shopping center. And that kind of made sense to me. So when it was pitched to you, what was your first response? Were you confused? Did the light bulb go off? Had you been in a salon before where you saw people renting chairs or booths? What was your experience like?
So the funny thing is, when I moved to Orlando, one of the first things you need to do once you unpack some boxes is find a new
Yep.
barber,
Find
right?
a new barber. All right. You got me.
And at the time, my schedule was such that I didn't like just going to a barber shop and waiting in line. And time is of the essence. So I wanted an appointment only barber.
Yep.
And a
Sure.
lot of those tend to be in salon suites. So I started searching out barbers that fit that. And I just loved the salon suite. It was always clean. It always had the music that I wanted to listen to. My barber pours me a nice cocktail when I get there. So, this
Wow.
is an
I'd
experience
like
that you
to
don't
go,
get in
Dougie.
any.
Let's go where he's. I'll have what she's having.
All right,
Right?
all right.
A cocktail.
There you go. Right.
Premium
So
experience.
my entrance into that industry was really as a consumer.
As a
And
customer,
so
right?
from that perspective, I started asking the barber some questions about, why he chose to have his business there and not in a traditional salon. And you just hear about it from that way. And then Salons by JC came by my desk and I was like, hey, wait a minute. I saw the connection
Wow.
immediately. Yeah.
See his RAS, right? Was
Yeah.
his reticulating activating system. He's like, I've been researching salon suites.
Mhm.
I've been getting my barber. I've been visiting my barber, and poof, there it is.
Yeah.
And then you snap. So, well, I want to highlight one thing that you said real quick, Chris, that I really thought was smart. Anytime you're working on kind of investigating a business, buying into a business or an opportunity, the best thing to do is to go be a customer, right? So go sit in the barber chair and go buy a haircut and ask questions, what it's like being here as a barber. So always remember that if you're thinking about making a move and going out for something, go be a customer, go get ice cream at that ice cream shop, go get burgers at the burger shop and see what it's like from that side. And then that'll help you make your decision moving forward. So I thought that was very smart that Chris did that. Okay, so now Salons by JC pops on your desk as this new cool opportunity. And were you thinking, obviously focusing on Orlando where you live makes sense because most people try to open up franchises. There are some crazy people like us that are in other states, but it's highly recommended to start with where you are.
Right.
So what was your next kind of goal? You flew out to Texas, you did the whole discovery, or did you start looking for locations? Kind of what was your strategy?
Yeah, so my strategy was I was actually in the process of selling the two Pilates studios. So I kind of had to wait for that transaction to close. But I always try to do as much research as possible before, decision time so that when decision time comes, I don't have to then do the research, right? So I flew out to Texas. Well, first I visited some local salon suites here, Salons by JC, and some competitors, just to kind of get like an overall idea of what was going on. I did a lot of research with people I know that are either in the industry or consumers, and asked them, what they liked, what they didn't like, just to kind of, get a full view of what was going on. And then I got invited out to San Antonio, and then it was just like, all right, we have to figure out a way to make this work.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I mean, when you see the team and the staff from Salons by JC and kind of the history, the family business, and you see how clean the existing locations are and how they're running, operationally at such a high level, you're just blown away. And for me, that's when the light bulb went off on that visit with Steve and of course Jack and Cecil. Rest in peace. Now the team is even much bigger because it's been probably 10 years since I went to San Antonio for the first time. I've been there many times. Obviously since then. So that's great to hear. And so now, where are you in the process? Have you signed a lease for your first location in Orlando? Are you meeting with real estate brokers? Talk a little bit about kind of what that looks like for you.
Yeah, so have an LOI out now. Currently, the attorneys are going back and forth with a couple of points that need to be articulated, and hopefully we'll be signing a lease by the end of this month, beginning of next month if everything goes
Wow,
okay.
exciting. That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Look, Dougie, put yourself in Chris's shoes for a minute. Our family owns 20 shopping centers, right? So we know everything that the landlord is now sending him in writing, we know about already,
Yeah.
right? We do that every day.
Uh-huh.
But for Chris, who didn't do that every day, now he's got the Club Pilates experience, which is way ahead of kind of being starting at nothing. But my God, the anxiety that must come with getting like a 40-page commercial lease. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any experience with that, but
No.
it's just like, wow.
Give me and Chris a tip. Like, what is she be looking for? What's the line of writing that we want to cross that out?
Chris knows. The biggest thing he wants to see is what's called the tenant improvement dollars.
All
TI.
right. All right.
All right.
There
Tenant
you go.
improvement. That's the first thing Chris is looking at.
All right. And what is that for the people?
Okay.
I know, obviously. I
So
know, but
let's
people
teach.
at home.
let's teach the audience. So tenant improvement dollars are dollars that the landlord, right, who owns the shopping center or the building, whatever it may be, where you're negotiating for your business. Those are the dollars that the landlord is willing to contribute, okay, means out of his or her pocket to the tenant for the build out. Okay. And you may say, well, Garrett, why would a landlord put in $100,000 or $1 million of what's called tenant improvement dollars? And this is why deals get made, literally comes down to the dollars. And the reason why is because when Chris builds a Salons by JC, he's going to be putting in a significant amount, hundreds of thousands of dollars of new plumbing, of new electrical, right? Of lighting, of walls, of doors, certain things that you just don't take with you. They stay with the building. That's what's called improvements. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I were to tile the entire wall behind me, right? And now in 3 years, you want to leave and take your studio to another building, you're not taking the tile with you. So that's considered an improvement. The landlord has now received something that you paid for. So a lot of times landlords will agree based on the money you're putting in that they'll contribute something towards that because they're getting the benefit. That tile could last 50 years, right? Now they may even be able to deduct it for taxes as a capital expense or depreciation. So certain things have tax benefits also. There's reasoning behind there. So it's kind of a way of getting a tenant across the finish line. If your space and my space are identical and the rent's $20 per square foot, but I'm going to give you $100,000 and the other landlord's going to give you nothing, you're going to come with me. So sometimes you hear it called like a key fee in hotel business, but really we call it tenant improvement dollars. And it's significant, and it's an important part of, and it's in all franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's negotiating this in any commercial lease. So very, very common. So
real quick to wrap that up.
Yeah.
I'm putting a tile up on here. You're my landlord. I'm putting a tile up on here. Am I paying for this and you're reimbursing me, or you're just paying for this?
So typically the tenant will have to front the money first. And then when the job is finished, they'll have to get what's called lien waivers, which tell the landlord that the contractor has finished the job and won't lien right on the property or sue the owner. And you have to get your certificate of occupancy to make sure that you're open for business. So yeah, usually it happens. Some landlords will give you a little bit early on, just a little bit, but most cases it's at the end. Yeah, and then so it's a reimbursement.
Nice.
And it makes sense. I mean, you could spend $1 million putting in, like if you put in 5 new air conditioning units that last 25 years and you're only there 5 or 10 years, the landlord's getting the benefit of that.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of the theory. So I know that's like the first thing Chris is going to look at when he gets the LOI back. Right?
That's right. The other thing is
That's
just make sure you
go
have a
ahead.
good attorney, right? You don't want to miss
Of course.
any bad things in that lease. So for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, you absolutely for any franchise business you're going to be working in, any commercial lease, you need to hire a commercial attorney, land use attorney or some type of attorney in real estate that has experience negotiating leases because there are, you know, everyone just focuses on what's the rent, but really the terms and conditions, some of that smaller hidden language is so critical. An example would be, let's say Chris is going to Chris, who's the big grocery store down by you guys in Orlando?
Publix.
Publix? Okay.
Mhm.
So I've had Publix close on me twice in
Aw.
shopping centers. Well, take a guess what happens to the other tenants when Publix closes.
They
They
lose
hit the
traffic.
road.
It's kind of, yeah. You ever heard that sucking wind sound? That's the money being sucked out of the whole thing. And everyone has to go to half rent and all these things. So a lot of times you have these clauses that say if Publix closes, because I'm coming because Publix is here. You're
Mhm.
telling me it's a Publix grocery anchored center. If Publix closes, then certain tenants' rents will go to half rent. So that's called co-tenancy. So that's important. That may be in your, in your lease documents.
Mhm.
And if you're good, you can negotiate that because, you may say, look, my sales are going to go down if Publix closes, so therefore my rent should go down as well.
Yeah.
So we see that a lot. Okay, so you're in the letter of intent stage. You're going to be trading some paper,
Mhm.
and hopefully this first deal happens for you. Let's talk a little bit about financing because Salons by JC, amongst other franchises that are in a retail store, they are not cheap, right? It costs a lot of money. We're spending over $1 million to build these now. How would a prospective franchisee put together the capital? Assume they're not independently wealthy. They're coming out of their corporate America job. They've got maybe $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, but they don't necessarily have $1 million in their piggy bank. What strategies would you recommend that they take or another franchisee take?
Yeah, I think the first thing to do is just kind of get an overall picture of your financial situation and credit worthiness. You can't use SBA funding for this type of business, but there are some lenders in the space that, with 20% down, kind of like buying a house, they'll give you the other 80%. Another thing that some folks have been doing is if you have a good amount of money saved in an IRA, you could use a portion of that to kind of capitalize for your 20% injection or couple that with savings. So there are quite a few ways to go about it. It just really depends on comfort level of the investor.
Okay, so you can roll over your IRA, is that what you said, or your 401k?
Correct.
Okay, and that there's some tax benefits. I mean, I know that's not your specialty per se. You have to,
Yeah.
but
So yeah, there's some tax benefits. The government doesn't penalize you for taking that money out, being before retirement age. It's not taxed as income.
Gotcha.
Now, of course, there's always a downside. The business has to be, you have to do it the right way, number one, so that you're not in
Sure.
trouble. And number two,
Absolutely.
the business has to be formulated a certain way. And essentially, the goal is to put that money back into your retirement from the proceeds of the business.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean that's a huge thing. Obviously, I personally think there's a huge market. I know like companies like Apple Pie Capital have stepped up. I think there's a huge market here for other private equity based or fund based companies to, help entrepreneurs, especially minorities and women that want to open up their own businesses, kind of play that middle part and step to the table. One of the things that I was attracted to about the Salons by JC brand, I know you and I talked about this. Think about how hard it is, Dougie, for a hairstylist, a nail tech, a massage therapist to go to a bank. And I'm talking anybody,
Mhm.
right? Go to a bank and say, hey, I want to open up my own salon. Can I borrow $150,000, $200,000 for plumbing, for electrical improvements, for air conditioning? Then you got to go convince some landlord that you're going to pay the rent every month on time, right? Sign your house away or these things. I mean,
You say then you're not getting past step one.
all right, yeah, I mean, like the reality is that is really hard for anybody. And then you think about, someone of color or a woman in the business who's maybe a single mom. I
Mhm.
mean, let's just be honest. Like this is an absolute, on a pipe dream or just
Yeah.
uphill battle, and it's frustrating. And so for me, that was something that I was extremely attracted to with the Salons by JC brand. That we
Mhm.
just take all that off the table,
Mhm.
right? So we're basically doing the electric, we're doing your plumbing, we're doing your air conditioning, we're doing your walls. We're the ones signing the big, scary 10-year lease with our house on the line.
Mhm.
You're just coming with your scissors. You're coming with your clients. You've got to have a heart of gold. You got to have the hustle. What do I always say? The fire in the belly. And literally you can kind of open within, I mean, every state's different. So in terms of the licensing requirements, you're opening right away. And there's not this huge capital, infusion needed. And so I think brands like Salons by JC are a leader in really helping kind of women and minority owned businesses excel. But I think there's also a need for more lenders in that space, Chris, to step up and say, you know what, a traditional bank may not really understand your story. Your story is it just doesn't fit into the Wells Fargo box or the Bank of America box. But you know what? You're going to be adding value to a community that adores you and loves you and supports you, right? And so we're going to step up and help with a $50,000, $100,000 loan, whatever it may be. Chris, do you think lenders in the future will start even putting out money for like salon owners who say, you know what, I want to take that salon suite to the next level and I want to do my own custom lighting or own custom, built-in wall units, and I need $25,000 of work in there? I mean, do you ever see a situation where a lender could step up something like that in the future?
Yeah, for sure. And this is where we talk about relationships, right? I mean, there's so many banks out there. And of course, we think about Wells Fargo and Bank of America, but there are also some banks that we've never heard of that are not household names that have made it their business to do this type of lending. And right. So that's when it works, when you've had those relationships and have had those conversations, and you could put people in touch with those people that can make those dreams come true. So yeah, you will see a lot more lending. I mean, you'll see more Salon Suites pop up for sure. And as banks realize the opportunity that they're missing out of here, more banks will start writing those loans as well.
I still think we're in the first inning with Salon Suites, man. I mean, I'm just so excited about it. And I think COVID has kind of woken up a whole industry and saying, as a customer, I want to be in the private room, right? As the guest, I like that one-on-one experience. I don't need 20 other people's drama, 20 other people's germs all over me. And of course, the salon owner, got to the point where they said, my God, I'm open, I'm closed, I'm being told what to wear, I'm being told when to show up, I'm being told to separate my clients by 6 feet. We just take all that out of the game, Doug, and say, hey, here's your suite. It's your one-on-one private room. Come and go as you please, charge what you want, wear what you want, carry whatever you want to carry. So I think we're in a very disruptive industry. And I've always felt, for me personally, Salons by JC it's Airbnb, it's Uber, it's the WeWork, like it's disruptive, right? It's a technology-based disruptive business. And so I'm thrilled about it. I know you had a funny story or something you wanted to share with me. You were advising one of your clients about a dryer vent company or franchise to get involved with. So I thought maybe you could just share that story before we wrap up.
Yeah, so this is the story I always tell, that sometimes the business that we want isn't wrapped in the bow that we're looking for. So I was working with a client, a friend of mine, and he and his wife were looking for an opportunity. And we were just at the beginning of the process. And as luck would have it, their dryer just stopped working. And so he called a technician out to clean it. And what happened was the dryer vent got clogged. And so the machine wasn't able to operate. And so the person came out, charged him, a couple $100, but it was a reasonable fee, and his dryer is now working again. And he asked, is this an actual business? And I said, yeah, I've been hearing about it. And I was able to turn him on to Dryer Vent Wizard. He opened up his Dryer Vent Wizard franchise a couple months ago and is doing fantastic. And, so it's one of those things where don't always get mad when the appliance breaks down. Try to find the silver lining there.
That's a great story. So he turned lemons into lemonade, and basically he looked in his own kind of house and said, what kind of things am I passionate about? What can be turned into a business? And it's great. I think that's a smart strategy, and that's a good ending. But I also think it's important for people to understand not every business is investable, right? Not every business is scalable. And it's okay if you want to have a hobby, Dougie, right?
Yeah.
But if it does not make money while you sleep, it is not a business. Okay. That's the definition, Doug. So if you want, there's nothing wrong with having 3 side hustles, 3 hobbies, whatever you want to say. If it doesn't make money for you while you sleep, it's not a business, and you can't bring investors in. You can't open up 3 versions of it in locations if it's not that. So just remember that the difference between kind of a hobby, a business, and how you scale things.
I think the important part, and what people get confused on, is they think they want to do something they love, and like they sometimes take their hobby. But like what you're saying, and this is coming out completely butchered and wrong. But long story short, if you find something you love, you're going to put in the time and effort needed to make it be successful.
100%.
And it'll be more pleasurable than doing something just to make money that you won't put the time and effort into, and it won't be successful. So you want to find something you love, so you put the effort into, but you shouldn't just be like taking a couple hobbies and be like, oh, I'm going to make it a business. No, you want to find something you love, so you put the effort and time.
Absolutely. Just like in sports, right? The more passionate you are about something, you're going to stay up later, take more reps, stretch more, have more lessons, right? Go to more practices and put that effort in and be willing to hang out longer. So, all right, cool. So Chris, this has been great. Now, before you go, we do put all our guests in the Get Up with Garret lightning round. Okay. So are you going to be open to this? Can you handle it, you think? Handle the pressure?
Let's do it.
All right. It's been a series of couple of questions. Keep it light, keep it quick, whatever comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
What's a business book you would recommend to the audience, Chris?
Oh, that's a good one. In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day.
Wow. Okay. So I love to travel, and I would one day hope to go to outer space. If you're going to outer space, who's taking us? Is it Musk? Is it Branson? Or is it Jeff Bezos?
I'm going with Branson.
Branson? All right. So I know you love cars, and I love vanity plates. I always take pictures of people's license plates. So if you had to get a new license plate or a new Instagram, whatever you want to call it, give me a funny name that you'd throw on either your vanity plate or your Instagram handle.
Well, I love convertibles, so I'd probably put Top Down on the vanity
Top
plate.
Down. Right. Oh man, I really like that
good one.
All right, Chris. First concert, best concert.
Ooh, first concert, I think Jay-Z. Best concert, Jay-Z.
Yeah, that's easy. And then what's a goal you want me to remind you of a year from now, Chris?
More Salons by JC units.
How many you want, Chris?
Well, we're at 3 now. Let's try to get to 6.
Wow.
I like it.
Wow. You're going to have some sleepless nights from experience. All right. You did it.
Nice.
Chris has survived the lightning round. We should throw in one extra question for him. What's your favorite BMW, Chris? I know you're a Beamer guy.
Yeah. 6 Series convertible is. I hope they bring it back. That's always been
like
my
the
favorite.
6 Series convertible. Okay.
Yeah.
If my friend Josh Jenikoff is watching, 6 Series convertible, bring it back, please. Okay.
There we go.
So listen, Chris, I'm so appreciative that you spent the morning with us, and I want you to know I'm a resource for you. I'm a friend. I'm here. It's going to be quite an interesting ride over your next year, getting through your lease, going through construction, filling up, getting stabilized. We're a family now, Salons by JC. So anything you ever need, just give me a holler or tweet, a text, however, people reach out and get an Uber these days, right?
Absolutely.
I always say, I'm here for you. And if I have to fly down to Orlando to spend a weekend doing some consulting, you call me, I'll be there, man. That would not be a problem. I'd be happy to help you any way I can. All right.
I appreciate that. And for your efforts, I'll give you a ride in the convertible and I'll take you by the barber for a cocktail. How about that?
Oh,
nice.
You got it, man.
Nice.
You got it. Dougie, I think it's a 2-seater. Sorry.
Oh, man, I got to stay home.
Stay back.
But I will tell you this, Chris, you remind me, have you read the book, The Go Giver?
No.
Check it out. You remind me of him. It's one of those, like the richest man in Babylon. It's like a fictional story, but it has principles in it, whatever.
Okay.
The Go Giver is a guy who's networking and providing a lot of value to a lot of people and connecting. He's the great connector.
Oh, Go Giver.
The Go Giver.
All right, I gotta write that one
Add it
down.
to the list.
All right.
Thanks, Dougie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Doug. All right, why don't you play us out, Dougie?
All right, here we go.
Let's get our exit music.
Thank you guys for watching. Get Up with Garret.
Yeah, everybody. Remember, the more you give, the more you get.